Okay, good. Okay, so what I was saying, thank you. What I was saying is just a couple of housekeeping issues. We only have an hour, so I want to use the time well. As you know, if you don't mind, throughout the presentation, if you can keep yourself muted. My name is Bonnie Peters. I'm the Chief Student Services Officer / Director of Student Experience with CVC Oei. And my colleague, Jamie Alonso, Director of Strategic Planning and Operations for CVC. Both of us, we will be working with you guys today to help provide you with information, and as it's noted on the slide, an understanding of the CVC Exchange, particularly in your role as articulation officers, but I know many of you are also counselors, so this presentation is focused on articulation officer / counselor direction. If you can keep yourselves muted, that would be appreciated throughout the presentation. Jamie will be assisting with the chat, so you can put questions in chat as we go along. I won't be looking at the chat as we go along because, as you probably know, it's difficult to run the presentation and do that. And any questions that we are not able to answer in chat during the presentation, we're leaving enough time, hopefully, to answer those verbally, so you can then actually unmute yourself, ask a question, or we will respond to them in chat because we have a section for that. And also, when we had put out the invitation, the announcement, we included a request, a 2-question survey asking about what you would like to know, and we got the responses from a few of you. So we will be addressing that throughout the presentation. Any of those that were not addressed in the presentation, please ask your question. If you're one of those folks who asked the question, who gave us a response to the survey, please ask the question and we will respond to it. So we're going to get started, and yeah, we're just going to move along. So, okay, so just to sort of put this in perspective, a couple of things. I want to first launch a poll, if you don't mind responding to this poll. This will just give us a little bit of information, so you should see the poll on the screen. And as you're doing that, I want to talk to you all about CVC Oei just really briefly. Hopefully by now, almost everyone in this room would have heard of CVC Oei, but if you are not familiar with CVC Oei, here's just a brief overview of who we are and what our responsibility and charges, and how did we get to this point of working with developing the exchange. So about 6.5 years ago, we came into being. The Chancellor's Office, we're an initiative out of the California State Chancellor's Office, and it's a grant that is sponsored by the Fertile De Anza District. So they are the district that is managing the grant, but we're a Chancellor's Office initiative. And our charge is basically can fit into these 4 quadrants that you're seeing on your screen. We work with your colleges, the entire system, all 116 colleges, to help colleges expand and enhance their distance ed program, in particular, with a particular focus on helping students with completion in terms of online completion. So our goal really is to look at both instruction and student services and any other aspect of DE that can help you with your mission in terms of helping students complete, helping close that online gap, achievement gap that we have seen in the past. And so what we were charged to do was really kind of look at different areas of the system. One of the areas that we focused on in the beginning, which you all should be very familiar with now, was we were charged with and had the responsibility of bringing Canvas to the system. We were asked to really look into how the system could utilize a single course management, learning management system, and Canvas was the end result of that. And so now everyone on the CCC system, every college on the CCC system is using Canvas as their online learning platform, which is a really good thing for your students when they are engaging in something like the exchange, where they may take a class at another college. They don't have to relearn a new management system. The other areas that we work in, you may already be familiar with @ONE. @ONE is part of our unit as well, which is the professional development unit for helping instructors with pedagogy and online course development. And so we provide professional development. We work with colleges to help provide quality professional development for online instruction. And we work with helping colleges develop their own on-campus online course review programs and things like that. @ONE in particular focuses a lot on training in terms of online learning. And so you find a lot of your instructors taking a lot of the @ONE courses, including your counseling instructors. And some of you may have seen that, as I know many of you are counselors, where we provide online counseling through courses through @ONE. And then also we focus on working with the system to ensure that you all have access to quality online student support services. So we, again, ConnectEd was one of the systems that we introduced to the entire CVC system, but we work with different vendors, and we work directly with the State Chancellor's Office in helping to identify vendors that can be of benefit to the system and help leverage the cost that comes out of that when you select a vendor to provide online student support services. So we help a lot and work together collaboratively, both with the colleges and the CCC office, in making sure those things happen. And last but not least, the exchange, which is why we're here today. And so the exchange has been a part of our charge from the very beginning. And so we'll go into it in detail in a moment. Right now, I just kind of want to take a look at the poll and really kind of see the results. Let's see, I'm going to share the results. It's all anonymous, but I see that the majority of you all, I personally reviewed the site, but still have many questions. And that's a kind of, it's a nice place to be for this presentation. Let me put it that way, right? I'm not saying it's a nice place to be, but it's a nice place to be for this presentation. So hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those many questions, but the fact that you all are familiar enough with the site is a good starting point. And those of you who've never heard about it, welcome. And this is a great starting point for you all as well. So thank you for responding to the poll. So let's go into it. Okay, so let's talk about the exchange in general. And I think those of you who are familiar, and if you weren't as familiar, you probably heard a lot about the exchange in terms of students can instantly add classes and without doing a second application and cross enrollment and all of that. And all of that is true. But that is also a part of the exchange. You have to take the exchange in its entirety. And as articulation officers and as counselors, this piece of it is really, really important and valuable to you and the work that you do. So it's not just the cross-enrollment piece. We're going to take a look at this in sort of three phases, right? So if you think about how the exchange would work for a student, if we think of the CVC Exchange in its entirety, and that goes directly to that cvc.edu site, we're starting with online courses and programs, and we'll go to the site in a minute. I'm just giving you an overview. The student, if you think about the student would be able to go to cvc.edu, look at all of the online courses and programs that are available from the CCC system, from your system. These are not independent courses that an organization called CVC Oei made up. We are part of your system, and all of the programs and courses are courses being offered from your colleges. So we're not independently designing and offering courses. So that's really important. These are courses that you all have been involved when it comes to the transfer part with articulation with assists and anything else. These are not our independent courses. So that's really important for you all to know. Once they look at these programs, and this is not the only thing they can do, but we're saying this is how the exchange sort of starts, right? A student may be interested in a class or that they've noted, and they then go to the course finder section. Again, we'll be taking a look at this live in a few minutes. They go to the course finder section, and then they can search for courses. And I'll go through some of the features of that. And then the final piece would be to register for classes. And that's where cross-enrollment comes into play. If, depending on certain criteria, if the student fits that criteria, then they can either cross-enroll where there's no additional application, CCC apply application, or at the very least, they can enroll, they can do an apply application directly from the site. So we're still not sending students away from the site to find the college. We're still allowing them to enroll directly from the site. So the process for the CVC Exchange really starts from reviewing courses and programs, searching for classes, and then going into that registration piece. Okay, so let's start with the first piece, right? And then I'm going to switch over to cvc.edu. The CVC online programs, like I said, offers degrees and certificates. So let's take a look at that really quickly. Let me do this, sorry. Thought I had it opened up. Okay, so this is just as simple as this, right? You go to cvc.edu, and one of the things, this is a page that you see. Now, our site is always evolving and changing. We take feedback from not only you all as stakeholders, as from colleges and counselors and anyone else who has a vested interest in this, but we take feedback from students as well. And as this is evolving, we're constantly making changes to the website. So you may see from time to time things change and updated, not in terms of the fundamental purpose, but maybe where something might be placed or anything like that. So I'm kind of giving you that heads up because we're doing some reviews and things like that as we're getting feedback from students. But in its current form, as it is right now, this is what students would see, right? So if we're talking about the programs and online degrees, there's two places you can locate that. So if you're a counselor, if you're a student, if you're an articulation officer, and you want to see what are we talking about when we're talking about guaranteeing a spot with your online degrees and online certificate, you can go here to the bottom, or the student can click here and then look at it from this standpoint. Okay, so I'll look at it from the bottom. If I wanted to look at online degrees and say explore, what we're looking at are the list of the ADTs that are set up as with a fully online pathway from your colleges. So you'll see basically it's listed. I'm going to click on Barstow just because it's the first one. But what you're seeing here is Barstow's Administration of Justice, right? Their ADT or AST. And I want to sort of kind of make a disclaimer maybe, but not so much. What you're seeing here is we're listing all of the major prep courses that are available online. So basically at Barstow, this entire degree, all their major prep, those courses are offered online. So a student can completely 100% take these courses online. And I want to backtrack a little bit. The exchange only focuses on online, pure online courses. There are no on-campus courses to be found in the exchange course finder. And you will see that when I go into the course finder in a minute, right? So these are,
but where does this data come from?
This data, okay, great question. So this data, we work directly with your colleges. We have staff on our end when we were putting this together who contacts your college, whether it's your DE coordinator, who then works with perhaps you, if you're the person the articulation office is providing this, or your enrollment, the dean of enrollment or dean in a particular discipline. Whomever is in charge of providing the listing of the courses and the catalog information, that's who we work directly with. Now you will note something, you see the asterisks, right? Here's what we have. The course noted with an asterisk were offered online at least once at this college during 2018. So we have some criteria that we've set up in place. Sorry, excuse me. We have some criteria that we have in place in terms of if the course was offered at least once, this was put together 2019, and this is continuously being updated. So if the course was offered at least once in a particular year, we're saying, okay, the school offers it online. If that information changes, we do have on our side where we're constantly working on this and getting new and updated information. So that's coming directly from your college.
And Bonnie, who do we work? How do we determine who we're working with on a campus?
So typically in the past, what CVC Oei has done, without going too far into the history of it, we started off first with a consortium of colleges. So at that point, we had and still do we had a single point of contact who most likely were the consortium representative or the distance ed coordinator. And sometimes they were one and the same. Now that CVC had broadened our charge because of some changes when things happened with COVID and some other changes that came through at the chancellor's office, and we're working basically with the entire system, we still primarily contact your DE coordinator, but, and I say primarily because we're in contact with several different leadership positions, right? For different things, we'll talk to your VP of Student Services, your CIO, your DE coordinator, your Dean of Student Services, so for several different things. With this one, this started off with your DE coordinator, right, who would normally be the person who's inputting the course catalog information and Canvas and things like that. But we didn't just stay there. If that person wasn't the person, they would then put us onto the right person. So if you are the right person for your college, I would say, first of all, you can let us know that. But I would say talk to your DE coordinator, because 9 times out of 10, that's the person we contacted. Okay, and I'll get the information to Bob Nash, is our Dean of Academic Affairs, who led this effort in making sure that this was up there, and I will get the updated information to him as long as you provide me with the right person who should be providing the information, if you feel that person is you. Okay, so a couple other things that I want to note really quickly is that the general education certificate options here, we know that every college do not have every single general ed that they have approved and articulated offered online. So when we say that the degree is fully online, we're focusing primarily on the major prep, but through the exchange, because the student can go to another college, they can search the general ed, right, and find an online course at a different college. And as long as that course meets the need, right, and we'll talk a bit about that articulation and where we're getting the information and all of that in a few minutes when we get into the course finder, then the student would have been able to complete at least their general ed as well. It may not be directly at the home college if the home college is missing that particular course. But so at the end of the day, the student can complete the entire degree online. Okay, so we have the degrees in particular, but we also have the certificate of completion. Sorry, let me go back here.
Hey, Bonnie, who provides the GE codes?
When you say provides the GE codes, we source our information directly from Assist. So I'm not quite clear when they say GE codes. Can you clarify a bit?
Yeah, that was the question, if those come from Assist.
Okay, yeah. So, and we'll go into that in a minute. So just give me a couple of seconds. All right, I just want to show you really briefly here, same thing as the degrees. What we have are the certificates of completion that are fully online pathways. And in this case, before we were showing you the college, and then you'll see what ADT that college is offering online. Here we're showing you the actual programs, and then the student will see literally who has this particular program, and then can search for those courses in the online in the course finder. So this is like a starting point for a student, especially since our focus has been really about completion, right? These are focused on especially the ADTs, maybe not so much the certificates, but the ADTs are focused on students who are in a program at their home college, right? And they're looking to complete, and they're looking to think, and they're thinking about transferring. So, and they have a sense of maybe this is the pathway that I want to be on. So the other piece to this whole thing is the exchange is to be used really with students, or students can use them and then use it and then work with their counselor to really get some clarity as we go along. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, so let's go back to here. Okay, so now let's talk about the course finder piece, and we're going to go back into it, but I just want to give you a kind of brief overview before we go into it so that you can have a sense of these facts that I'm providing on the screen. So as I mentioned before, Online courses, these are only online courses, pure online courses. So that's important. We're not including hybrid courses. These are courses where the student is not expected to come onto campus at all. And they're all offered by your colleges, the CCCs. We're not an independent organization creating courses. We are working with you all. The Chancellor's Office is an initiative out of the Chancellor's Office. All of the sections, again, we get the classes, and this will answer a question that came through in the quick survey that we had. How do we source the information, the courses? So a few ways. We're working directly with your college. So our technical team works with your technical team, the IT department, where we set up in the most, until we're working with you to get you set up as a home college, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We've asked all of your colleges through your IT to send over what is called a CSV file, where we're getting sources, your courses for that particular term, and it's entered into the course finder. Now, that's the most basic way right now until we get certain technical things in place with you all. But what it does, it reflects all of your courses for that particular semester or term or quarter. When the course is sourced that way, it's not real time in the sense of you're not going to see the seat count changing. But the next step, which is where we are with a lot of the other colleges too, we've moved into where we're now able to pull those courses directly from your system, again, working with your IT, and those courses are fed into the course finder, and they're in real time, meaning when a student chooses a section, picks a section, they'll see the seat count going up or down, or knowing that it's in real time. So the courses are sourced directly from, we work with your college. The information in terms of transferability and the IGETC and CSU GE, we are sourcing our information again directly from ASSIST. So what is in ASSIST is what is in CVC Exchange in terms of the course finder. This will also answer a question that I know came up, and I think I have it at the end of the presentation, but about the different areas. And I know area F is a question like, is CVC going to reflect area F? Area F will be reflected when ASSIST reflects area F. That is because that's what we're doing, right? Our information is not independent. It's matched off of that. So whenever it's reflected in ASSIST, it will be reflected in the CVC course finder. So let's take a look and kind of go through it in a little bit of detail. And as I mentioned, the students will be able to register directly from the website. Okay, so the course finder, again, very easy. It's the first thing on the page, right? So the idea is that the student would either be searching or have an idea. Maybe it's you who's looking. So there's some tabs giving like how it works, right? More information, where they can look and search for classes and things like that, right? But basically, there's sort of two, so we're at the course finder piece, and there's sort of two components. And again, this is one of the areas where you might see some change in terms of some of the language here that we're contemplating changing. But for now, when you say, I'll start with, I don't have a primary college, let's start there. I don't have a primary college. I don't have a home college, meaning you're not currently enrolled. The student is not currently enrolled at a California community college, right? The exchange is designed to encourage enrollment. So we would like students who are not enrolled at a community college to still be able to search, and there's still a pathway for them, right? So let's start there first. Now, you will notice when I say I don't have a primary college, it doesn't give the student the option of the CSU breadth or the IGETC. And yes, we're kind of working on the language there as well, because we know a lot of students may or may not understand what those things mean, especially potential students, right? So in terms of just searching, we have the search component of the exchange. We leave it where keyword search is what the student can enter. And in the interest of time, I'll use one of the things that I've defaulted to before. I put in social science. So when I do click find classes, what you have is, and there's an algorithm in terms of how the classes are filtered and who comes to the top at the different points in time, right? One of it being when classes availability, the next start of term, and there's a couple of other things. And we can talk more about that if someone really wants to know how the algorithm works. But what you see here, this is someone who is, I don't have a primary college, so we know many times, and you all would know this, like we may have someone from the CSU system who wants to take a California Community College class to fulfill a requirement over the summer. So this has given them, because I went really broad and I did that deliberately in the interest of time, but also classes, I mean, you have to find open classes. So I need to make it broad, right? We're in the middle of a semester, almost close to the end. So if I click on, let's see, the very first one. Well, before I do that, let me do a couple of things. You'll see the terms that are defaulting to, meaning these are the terms that are available right now in the exchange, right? You'll see that you can select any individual institution. So if that person had a particular community college in mind, they can change they can filter and select a particular institution. I'm keeping it broad. They can, if they know what their interest is, they can set it as an elective at CSU, elective as UC, from the CSU breadth and so forth. So they can set it like that as well. They can also set it to show only available seats, but I'm not going to click that right now because that will limit, based on where we are in the semester, that will limit what we're seeing. So now let me go here and I click on the class. And what you're going to see is one of the questions that came through on the survey was about, do we get the course subscription and all of that? Again, yes, we do. This information, based on what we do with your IT, and we're pulling information into the system, this is your description. This is from the college. We're not rewriting descriptions. Everything that's pulled in here is from the college, right? So this description, where it lists the prerequisites, all of that is directly from the college. It speaks to the tuition and fees, and we just got some really good feedback regarding this, where we really should break this down to let students know that this is the standard $46 if it's a per unit, if it's a semester, and $31 if it's a quarter, so that they understand, like, where did this number come from. But in the interim, though, there's a info button that kind of lets students know this is a flat fee, and then there may be additional fees at time of registration, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, okay, that first section, as you can see, is full, so I want to get one that has an apply. We checked this earlier. It's interesting. Okay, let's see if I can get one that has an open seat. Okay, there we go. All right, so in this particular course, now remember, I'm looking at a student who is not enrolled at a community college, right? They're just searching for courses. So at this point, the student would only be able to apply. They can't cross-enroll, which we're going to talk about. They cannot cross-enroll. They can't just add without an application because they're not a student of the system. So they would click apply, and it would take them to this point of creating an open CCC account. And at that point, they continue their process of applying to, in this instance, Santa Ana College. So what we have here is a student using the exchange to get to the point of where they can apply to the college and then continue on with the college rules per se, and with a regular application. Now, if the student if the student was a student of our system, then this is going to be slightly different. So I'm sorry, my bars are getting in the way. So let me close this off. Okay, so let's go home. Let's go to home and change who the student. So now let's put that I have a primary college, and I'll use FITL in the interest of being able to show you a couple of things with my FITL ID. So I have a primary college, and at this point, you're seeing that we have way more search options, okay? I'm still going to use social sciences for the broadest search. FITL happens to be one of those colleges that are fully integrated in terms of the technical pieces, which I'll explain in a minute. So now it's giving me a bunch of choices again. I want to see only courses I can enroll in immediately. What that means is this person believes they can cross-enroll, where they can immediately enroll in a course. So I changed that. There's no social sciences that are available open in that immediately. That's interesting. So let me take that one out. Okay. Okay. And let me, because I want to show you, there's none open immediately because you're seeing these are starting June 14th. So the filter works correctly. But I want to show you something. So I want to go here, hopefully. Wait a minute. This shouldn't see. Oh, I get it. Okay, let me go back. I shouldn't use Patel. I want to use, let me use American River College. I want to show you the add button. Okay, so let's do this. Okay. All right, now I want to do where I can immediately enroll. See if I can put available seats. Okay, earlier I had a Foothill College class on here, but I'm not seeing it. Let's see if Fresno would allow it. Okay, no, it's not giving me that. Typically, what would happen is you would see a class, you would see an add button at this point, right? If this was a course that the student could cross-enroll in immediately, but it seems like there's no immediate, and it's because of the time of the semester, so that's understandable. That add button would be at a point where when the student clicks add, they can now enter the cross-enrollment process. And what that does is it takes them to a screen. You'll see it. I'm going to show you all a video, so you'll see the process. They'll take them to that screen, and the student then goes through the cross-enrollment process. So let me go back to the PowerPoint, and we can go to that piece of the cross-enrollment part. So this is the third step, right? That cross-enrollment. That's the immediate and instant enrollment into a college. So this video.
So today I'll be providing a brief demonstration.
First of all, can you guys hear the video? Yeah, okay. So before I started, this video is about 5 minutes long, but this video shows you the process that I couldn't just show you because I would have to go through and add a course and all of that. So if you think about it from where I ended, where that button would have been an add button, this is a student who's coming from a college where they can directly cross-enroll. And so this is the process for that student.
Of the student experience using the CVC Course Finder and cross-enrollment platform. We begin here at the front page of the Course Finder, and this site allows students to browse available online courses from across the CCC system, all in one location. And then they can search for the course that best meets their academic needs from the college of their choosing. Students don't need to be logged into the system in order to browse courses, but they will be prompted to log in using their home college information if they wish to enroll in a class. So students must first select their home college, and then the course criteria they wish to search for. So that could be CSU breadth requirements, UC IGETSI requirements, or the course name. So I'm going to search for
Hey, Bonnie, it looks like we lost the video. The sound anyway.
I think I found a course that looks pretty promising.
Are you hearing it now?
I'm going to go ahead and click on the title here, and now I can see if there are any prerequisites. I can also read a little bit more about the course in the course description area. I can learn more about the tuition and fees for in-state and out-of-state, the unit number, and the transferability information for what requirements this course fulfills. Now I can scroll down to the open sections and see that there is an upcoming class starting on October 15th with 9 available seats. So I can add that class. And I'm taken to the login screen where I have to log in with my home college information. So once I've logged in, I am taken to a student consent form, and I must read each of these statements carefully and agree to share my information between colleges, that my transcript can be sent automatically. I have above a 2.0 grade point average, and I'm not currently a K-12 student. And also, if the class had a prerequisite, I would confirm that I have met that requirement. Click continue, and I'm taken to a brief form. What you see, some of these fields are already filled in. That's from when I signed in. That information automatically populates to this form. So now I just have to finish the form by adding a valid California address. My zip code. And then if I had a phone number, I can add it here. Also, my email was pre-populated from my sign-in. I could update that email if I see that that is actually out of date. So since my college that I'm coming from is also on the exchange, my residency has already been validated, so I cannot edit that field. So my home college has confirmed that I am either a California resident or I meet one of these categories for tuition purposes. So now I can submit my enrollment form. And again, the whole point of this entire process is to create a seamless experience for the student, so that they don't have to go through the tedious process of submitting an application and going through matriculation at a new college. So that's it. We've taken the entire enrollment and admissions process down to about a 3-minute transaction. You can see I've successfully enrolled in that course. Now I'm presented with some options for how to pay for this course. I can either pay the fees using the payment gateway and my credit card, or I can apply for a promise grant, a California promise grant that will waive those enrollment fees with the teaching college, or I can declare my intention to use federal financial aid, and this will send a notification back to my home college that I want to get financial aid for this course, and so I can come back and pay those fees later. I can also go over to my class schedule and see all of the courses I'm currently enrolled in from there. And I can see all the courses I'm currently enrolled in. I can drop courses from here, or I can go back and pay for them. And if I've already paid for them, you'll see the status as enrolled and paid. Also favorite courses, save searches, and view notifications and edit preferences here in this interface as well. So that's a brief overview of the cross-enrollment platform.
Okay, so let's get back to here. Okay, so you've heard me mention home college, teaching college. You've heard it in the video. So basically, just to sort of kind of recap, what you have is, we've just covered the search for programs, search for classes, and then if I were to instantly register, cross-enrollment is what I would use, right? And so those terms about home college and teaching college, why does that matter? Well, it matters for one, as I showed you, if you're not a student of the system, you cannot cross-enroll. So that's not an option for potential students. Potential students can use the exchange up to the point of applying. However, existing, currently enrolled students can use the exchange, and they have to have a home college. So let's talk about what that means. So a home college, as is listed on the screen, is a California community college that has completed the necessary technical steps to enable the enrolled students to instantly cross-enroll in courses at a teaching college via the CVC Exchange. So those technical steps are things that our development team, they're working with your college, again, your IT and anyone else, to help enable the home college so that we can pull information and to a certain extent pass information, but pull information from your system. So that's form that we call the AER form, where you saw things were defaulting, that information is pulled. So the student is at a home college. So the home college, for a college to be a home college, those steps have to be in place. And there's a series of steps. And if you want more information about that, we can always discuss that at another time. But just know that your college has to have those steps in place. At the end of this presentation, we have a link to where the implementation stages for colleges, and you can always check that out if you want to know where your college is in that process, okay? The teaching college now is a college where the student can take the class. So that too we have to have some technical steps in place for that college to be considered a teaching college. The college also has to sign the Master Consortium Agreement through CVC Oei. And then once we have all those things integrated, students from a home college can go to the course finder, get to that add button, click add, and there's no CCC apply application. They go through that process you see in the video, and they are instantly enrolled in the course. So this, for those of you as articulation officers and counselors, you all are most likely very familiar with cross-enrollment from the CSUs and the UCs, where there was no electronic component, but the concept is the same, where a student could take a class at a CSU from the community college. They usually bring in a form, right? They confirm that they're registered at the community college, and they take it over to the CSU, and they get to sign up for a class without having to do a full CSU application or be accepted. So it's that basis of where we're starting with this that existed with CSUs and UCs, but it had not prior to this, prior to 2017, had not existed between community colleges. So when we're saying cross-enrollment, that's what we mean. The student gets to enroll without formal application, and a few other things that we'll go over in the next few slides. So just wanted to clarify about home college, teaching college, because it's really important when you're hearing us using those terms to understand that a school has to have met a certain set of technical steps that in order for you to be considered a home college for students to where their students can come into the exchange. And while every college in the system is considered a home college, without certain technical steps, that instant enrollment may or may not be possible at that time. So, okay, so just let's kind of look at the eligibility for cross-enrollment in general and requirements in general, right? So when we talk about the cross-enrollment piece, when you think about the exchange, the piece that had to have new legislation, which is what you're seeing at the bottom here, this link at the bottom here, which is came out of AB 637, that's the ed code that governs cross-enrollment, right? So in order for us to be able, as I mentioned, prior to 2017, for a community college student to just simply go to another community college without having to put in an application, we had to work with the state in order to make sure that the education code included that. And so there are some rules around that, like everything else with Title V and Ed Code. So students may cross-enroll in only up to 2 courses per term, because the goal here is that we're not trying to send them away from their home college, we're trying to help them complete, right? And so the idea is, if you can find everything at your home college, absolutely do that. But when the situation or circumstances arises where for whatever reason, and the reason may be their own, they can't find the class that they want, the class isn't available, perhaps when everyone goes back on campus, the student cannot do on-campus classes, then that student may then want to access the exchange and shouldn't have to wait until that class is available in order to complete. Registration can only happen during open registration at the teaching college, so there's no issue of priority registration violations, right? Again, the student can register with their priority registration at their home college, but if they choose to use the exchange, they must register for classes only during the teaching college's open registration. They must have on file an application with their home college, right? Because they have to be enrolled there. They must consent to share their data electronically. As you saw in the video, there was a consent form in order for us to be able to push and pull that information from the different SISs, because that's what we're doing when we say we're working with your IT department. We're pulling information from one system and pushing it into the next. They must consent to have that data shared. And so they can't, if the student chooses not to consent, they won't be able to use the exchange. They must have an in-state California address, and they must self-certify that they have a 2.0 or higher GPA or no established GPA, because the idea here is not to penalize someone because they may have just established, have not established. Perhaps they're in their current semester, their GPA isn't available yet, but they want to register for the course. So those are the primary conditions of the exchange. There's a few more, but if you go into the ed code, you can kind of go through it in more detail, and we can also provide you with more of that information if you have a very specific question. So let's kind of just take a kind of quick overview of the student profiles who can actually enroll through the exchange, if we think about how the exchange works. So if we start with the first student, this is a student, when we say fully integrated, we're talking about all the technical steps are in place. That student will search for classes. They will get their identity validated through the exchange process, right? And that student is allowed to cross-enroll, to instantly enroll. He does not have to apply secondarily, and he's bound to the rules of the exchange that I just discussed with you all. The second student profile, this is a student at a home college that does not have all of the technical integration in place. That student too can search for classes, but they will get to that apply button, they will apply, and then they will go through the regular steps of being accepted at the teaching college and then become enrolled. And the same is true of the student who is not a student of the system at all. So these are the three student profiles in terms of using exchange. We allow for cross-enrollment, instant enrollment, and we allow for searching and working within the site to actually enroll at a second community college. So let's talk really quickly, and I know time flies really fast. Let's kind of talk about these, this as a tool for counseling and in your work as articulation officers. The tool, as you can see, in terms of it in its full, as a full tool, it really can help counselors and think about this from when they're working with students in terms of educational planning, in terms of colleges, when they're thinking about guided pathways, like how to identify those all complete online programs. And it's a great transfer planning tool because we're working with the data directly from ASSIST, and it's designed where we're laying out the GE patterns, the two predominant GE patterns, as well as the additional search for substituted courses and course equivalency. It is not, however, a replacement for counseling. So really, as you all know, as much as we want students to search for themselves and really figure this thing out for themselves so that they have a better understanding and take more ownership of their own success, it's a very nuanced thing as a counselor, right? I used to be a counselor. I know where students wouldn't know the details that you all know when it comes to actual transferring. Maybe what about local area rules and things like that. So what we encourage is that the students may search and look and do all of this, but we strongly encourage the students to seek you all out, right? And the students to, or from the articulation officer standpoint for your colleges to take a look and discuss what you're seeing with regards to equivalencies and substitutions and where you can be of service in terms of helping refine this so this can be useful for students and give them the correct information as they move, as they go through, as they complete their journey. And so some of the benefits that we find for students in particular by using the exchange or going through the exchange. One, we're providing an equitable pathway for all students. It's helping to reduce students' time to complete. Financial aid is a big piece of this. We have a second consortium agreement that allows for, if the student is eligible, they can combine their federal financial aid, because outside of a consortium agreement, if a student goes to a second college, they cannot ask to request federal financial aid from that second college. So this allows the student to, if they have 9 units at one college and 3 units at the other, as long as they're eligible and the school is signed that federal agreement, the student may most likely be able to get full maximum federal aid benefits. Under the ed code, there's no additional local fees. The student paid the flat $46 or $31 per unit. So that's it. There's no additional fees when they're using the exchange. As you know, it instantly cross-enrolls in a single search. It's an opportunity for repeatability when a student is no longer able to take a course at their home college and they're literally blocked because that's ed code or Title V. they can go to a second school and complete. And so that way it keeps their journey going on. And all of these are system-wide course availability. So it gives a further reach. So we see a lot of benefits to students in terms of helping them move along by using the exchange. And here, I wanted to, and maybe I can have Jamie speak to this slide. We got a question about in terms of improving enrollment, and I wanted to speak specifically about some of the disciplines because you all, as articulation officers, can get a sense of what students are searching for and which courses could be useful if you are considering further articulation, or which courses that you should pay attention to that may demand articulation. So Jamie, can you sort of speak to the slide a bit?
Yeah, and maybe while I'm talking about the slide, you can address the question that came up in the chat. Basically, how does CVC Oei determine equivalencies using assist or CID? And the idea that courses and equivalent courses may or may not have the same articulation. As far as the slide goes, as you can see, these are the courses that are most popular on the exchange so far. There was a question also about if we had information on which colleges are getting the most enrollments through the exchange. And essentially the pattern that we're seeing, students can only enroll into colleges that have been set up as teaching colleges. So colleges that have been fully integrated in the exchange. I mean, that's a higher level of integration than the home college integration. We only have in the low teens that number of teaching colleges. So what we're seeing is the teaching colleges that came online first, those districts are the ones getting the most enrollments right now. And the longer they've been on the exchange, the more enrollments they're getting. And I think it's mostly right now because they're the only game in town. And then Bonnie, I'll let you address the articulation issue.
Yeah, so to speak to the articulation issue, and I know we're running out of time, so I think I want to get to the questions as much as possible. So we are, when you go to the site, when a student picks a course name in terms of substitution, and again, we are thinking about rewording that. That is based on CID articulation, CID determination. So student may put in a course name, I'll make one up, English 101, and it will, or put in English or whatever they call it, and it will pull courses up based on that English 101 designation that has a CID designation as well for any sort of English 101 type courses. So we're tapping directly into that, right? When a course doesn't have a CID, that question came up earlier in the week. That is the time when the student really has to work with their counselor, because it's kind of the same what happens on campus, right? If you don't know the equivalent, if they don't know if it's equivalent, they come into you and then you do what you do, which is seek that out, right? I know at my old college, we would go to evaluations, they will do their thing, and then we will get that information and go from there. So while we are constantly working on trying to get to that place, this is an area I believe that as articulation officers, you all can be really helpful for the system, because the system does not really, with assist, you have transfer articulation agreement, right? So whatever you were articulated goes through an articulation with assist. That's what we have with CVC iGetsy. That's what we're using. So we know this is what it lays out. It's set up for an assist. And we're also intending to work on even being more intentional, where the student might be able to put in an actual college and then say, I'm transferring to, let's say, SDSU, and does this class fit SDSU transfer, right? So we're working on making it that exact. But when it comes to community college to community college, that doesn't exist in the system right now. And that would be great if the system could do that same kind of level of articulation. So we use CID and we use assist. And when it's uncertain, the student will have to work with you, with their counselor, to get the most certainty out of the equivalency. Okay. All right. So I think this is we're basically kind of down to the end. This is just ideas about promoting the exchange. And now I just want to kind of get into the rest of the questions. If there are any other pending questions, I can stop and I can read the chat. Let's see. Or if someone wants to raise their hand and ask the question out loud, we can do that. Are there any pending questions?
Bonnie,
Yes.
where can I find this recording?
Okay, so we will make this recording available on our site. Let me do this. Let me go back to sharing the screen for a minute. I just wanted to read the chat and go to. Okay, I'll go back to those questions in a minute. Here's where you'll get a lot of the resources. We, for student services, we have this page, right? And again, this is going to be made available, so you don't have to copy it from here. But we also have a CVC YouTube channel. And then what we can also do is, because you all registered, we can send that to you directly. I'll make a point of sending it to everyone who was registered on here, so you can get that link. And then from that point on, you can go to all of these other sites. Okay. But I want to go to these 3 questions here because I think we touched on it, but I want to make sure. I mentioned area F. Again, with area F, if as long as assist, when assist places it in their system, area F will be available as an area in CVC. And we just talked about the CCC to CCC articulation database. And again, courses without a designation you'd have to work directly with the student would have to work with a counselor. But those are 2 of the areas, if I can make a request as articulation officers, where I feel that you all may be able to be of service to the system, and then we can bring that into the CVC, where we're looking at an assist-like database for CVC, community college to community college articulation, right? So then it's easy to say that this class is articulated. And then also, I don't know how involved you are with CID in terms of when courses are being recommended for CID designation, how quickly to make that process happen, whatever you can do there. Okay, do we have any other outstanding questions? Oh, I see prereq and co-reqs or something. Okay, did you want me to respond to something on that, Jamie?
I tried to relate the fact that, currently, at least for prereqs, the colleges have a couple of solutions that we've implemented. One, either they're blocking all courses from the exchange that require a prerequisite, or Lake Tahoe Community College, for example, they allow students to enroll and they create a placeholder, and then the student gets messaging that says they need to follow up with proof that they have fulfilled the prereq, and then once that's cleared, then that enrollment is allowed to go through at the college. And then again, we're working with our vendors currently to explore other options. It's that and co-reqs are areas of ongoing exploration.
And I want to respond to Paula. I see where she mentioned she had a student who completed a GE that was indicated and it did not meet that area in assist. And could this be due to CID matching? It's possible, but what I would like you to do you know what course it was? Because I would like to investigate that a bit so I can have a very definitive answer. And if it's like a glitch or anything, I don't know if then we can resolve it, because we're directly, again, sourcing from assist. So do you know offhand, what the course was?
I'll have to go back. I'll go back and find it.
Yeah.
I think I've got it in files somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I think that all what is offered through this website is fantastic,
Yeah.
and so helpful for students. But yeah, that was just one time that I did encounter that. So I will find that and get that to you.
Send it to me, and I'll share it with the developers so we can kind of understand why it played out the way it played out, and that would be helpful. Okay. If you all have general questions, and I'll see a couple other questions I'm going to respond, and then I know we have to go. You can respond to send questions via support@cvc.edu, but Paula, with this one, send that one to me at bpeters, let me type it, at cvc.edu. But the general questions, send it to support@cvc. Don't send it to me. And I say that not because I don't want to answer you. Most of the times, most of them will come back to me. But if you have a general question and it's something that I have to get someone else, the support staff will be able to get that person directly. But Paula, if you can send that to me, I appreciate it. And thank you all very much. I know there was a question about what are the technical steps. If you send that question through cvc.edu, you'll get a response guaranteed because there's a few technical steps. And yeah.
Yes, I put the link to the toolkit in there as well.
Okay, great. So thank you all very much. And sorry it went so fast. That always goes fast. But if you have any questions, feel free to send it to us and we'll do our best to respond. Okay, have a great day.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Bob.